Welcome back to this week's show of Digital Mindset. I'm your host, Chris, with our host here as well, Vanessa.
Oh yeah. How you guys doing out there? You guys doing good? This is part two.
Part two. Today we're going to be talking about how to brand your website in today's digital age. Last week we spoke about, and you can check out that show on YouTube, on Facebook as well, how to brand your company in the digital age. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, expand on it specifically for just your website. So we got a great show for you today.
Yes, we do. And a lot of the stuff that we talked about before, I'm going to kind of see some of the material now, but we're going to really show you how to those things that we talked about. So of course, like before, there were 3 main points that we had last time, so we kind of want to keep that going for you guys. So if you're writing this down, if you have your notes, you know what's going on. Today, as far as your website, especially when it comes to branding, we're going to be talking about your content arrangement, your website, how it's designed for your audience, how it's written for your audience, and if you're sure that you do those, and we're going to show you guys how to do that. And then lastly, we're going to talk about your brand, the brand for your website, and how to make sure that your brand for your website is leading up to a lead, or to make that conversion that ideally we all want, or make a business happen. So that's what we're going to get into. So the first point, as far as content arrangement. Now, me and Chris had a long conversation about content arrangement. And it's so important to realize that your website, the way that it's structured, you're essentially giving your client the first experience of your brand. And so you really have to make sure that your Instagram, you guys didn't hear that. You have to make sure that your content is arranged for your clientele and not misleading, which we see that a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're thinking about, and if you watched last week's show about branding, you know, if you're, again, we'll go back to that same website because they did such a bad job branding. When you're a gym going after women who are 60 pounds overweight, the front of your page has a rock climber on it, black and gray tones and colors that really speak to men and more corporate websites. I mean, they just missed kind of every point of that. And you know, when you're arranging your content on your website, you really have to think about what is going to connect, you know, with my customer. What is going to convey my brand story? Why my customers are using, you know, you over the competitor? What is conveying to your customer why they choose you over the next?
Right, and the 3 main points too that we always look at for our clients is, you know, what is the message? Are you displaying your message right off the bat? Are you explaining what your service is right off the bat? And how are you separating yourself from the rest of the competition? And if you're a gym and you're marketing towards women and there's a male, that's mistake number 1, there's a male picture of a male on the front page climbing a wall, you've already messed up your messaging because the messaging is off. You've already messed up what your product truly is. We get the idea there's going to be some sort of physical thing involved, but I don't get the idea that it's for someone like me, a woman. And how are you making yourself different? So that difference isn't there if it's structured like that. And that has to do with how people are interpreting your website when they read it, because people are just scrolling. Like when they read down, it's a story. It's essentially a story. And with a website like that, you've already disregarded what your true brand story is. Yeah.
And that's a real good point. Your website needs to convey your brand story. Talk to your customer through your website, through videos, through before and afters. Do video testimonials on YouTube of, we'll go back to this gym, you just helped a woman lose 60 pounds. Mm-hmm. That is, I mean, on all kinds of levels, that is awesome. You're giving people their health back. Yes. I mean, on a whole nother level, that is amazing. So when you have women sharing video testimonials on YouTube about how your gym specifically helped them lose 60 pounds and they've been to 9 gyms before and they've never been able to accomplish this, but yet we came to this gym and it solved our problems. You put strong video testimonials or even just written testimonials with a nice before and after picture of that customer that's giving you that testimonial, that is strong, and that's telling your story. That's connecting with those women that are 60 pound overweight, that are sitting there thinking, you know, man, I really wish I could find a gym where I could just lose this weight, get my health back, and find people that are just like me that are doing the same thing. They hit your homepage, they hit your website, they see those videos, they see your customers, your brand is speaking with them, and it's going to connect, and they're going to reach out to you, and it's going to generate a lead or a customer or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and it's so interesting too, because one tool that I really want to give you guys and really hear us out on this, you're thinking about making your website and having the content. In the industry, there's a thing called wireframing, and it basically helps you to figure out where everything is going to go on your website. You really want to take that step into consideration because it's going to help you plan your content wisely. You don't want to just throw things up there because then you end up having a website like that where it's misleading. So take the time, write this down, take the time to do a wireframe. If you don't know how to do that, research it. Google exists for a reason. Do the wireframe, figure out how to arrange your content. And it's so great to see businesses who have their mission statement maybe above like a slider or something like that, or below the slider, and then right there they have like the services or the products, because depending upon your audience, you know, if you're selling and if your main concern is selling, then sell. But if you're selling but maybe you have like a thing behind your product, like if it's like aromatherapy or something like that, maybe you do want to provide a nice little summary, very, very quick summary or something like that. You don't want to get into too many details because then way too much content. Let me just. So keep that in mind. Wireframing, like take the time out to really arrange your content so that it's conducive to you.
And give you an idea, you know, one of the ways that we wireframe, we have a big whiteboard here in the office, and we will structure out every page and we'll write them down, draw every page out on the whiteboard, where we want our call to action buttons, where we want content buttons at, and things like that, because we know that when you focus and you wireframe that and you talk and discuss and you go over, okay, how does this flow? What should go here? Should this be a video? Blah, blah, blah. It makes it a lot easier for whether it be you who's handling your website to put it up, or if you're handing that to a digital marketing company, they can say, okay, I see the vision and we can definitely make this happen.
Right, and that kind of gets us into our next point. The second point is making sure that you're designing you right for your audience. So having that video, if this is a magazine, you want to have, you know, a very involved type of format. You want to design it so that it's very involved. Having videos is a really nice feature. Having interactive like titles and stuff like that. You want to use those sorts of things to your advantage. So really, you have to really think about who your audience is and what they're going to be interested in. If your demographic is an older demographic, you don't want to have all those poppy things. It's not conducive to how they want to experience something, more of a laid-back type of feel. And that goes in with the research that we talked about before in the last episode, as far as studying, you know, your target audience, because that matters. It's going to matter even in your website.
I agree. And you know, one thing that just actually jumped into my head about your branding is, you know, the fold of your website, which is basically what your website looks like as soon as you jump onto it, you know, from a web page. You know, a lot of the menus that people have, they don't use it to brand or to tell people what they do as a company. So, for example, you jump onto a website, first thing you see right in the menu is home, about us, you know, maybe our services, contact page. You know, that's basically the 5 pages you'll see on a menu. Now, typically if a company, or not a company, I'm sorry, a customer comes to your website, you want to capture their attention right in the fold, and they need to know what your company does. So for those menu items, let's say for a cleaning company, for example, instead of doing home, about, contact us, our services, you can do home cleaning, apartment cleaning, residential cleaning. So now when people land on your website and see your fold, they know exactly what you do and it's congruent with your brand. So just a quick little thing that jumped out of my head.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because a lot of people, they'll just get into that habit to us, but if you put in like more of what you do,
And you know, another thing that brings up is in your branding, the less friction points, the better. Okay, so if I have to go through your website and your branding, 9 different pages, and I got to click through, you know, all these pages to finally reach the contact page or to finally reach a call to action that's gonna, you know, give you my information, you know, I got to go through 9 friction points. If I land on your website, boom, I know exactly what it is. Oh, home cleaning. Oh, okay. Scroll down. Oh, look, I can contact them right here. That's what, 1 or 2 friction points a customer has to go through to actually contact you as a business. A lot of companies, with the way they brand their website right now, I have to read through the front page. There's no way to contact you, so now I have to go to the contact page, and then I got to fill out a form. I mean, it gets hard. You're making it hard for your customers to actually reach out to you with the way you're branding your website, with the way you're arranging your content, and the way you're just kind of doing things on your website. So hopefully this show is going to help you fix some of this stuff, because you're going to be able to get better results from a website when you implement these tricks or these tips.
And if you guys do have questions, I mean, our Twitter handles are right there. You can use the hashtag digital mindset, and we would love to answer your questions. I mean, we are live all over the place. We have our feeds up and everything. So definitely get in contact with us if you have any sort of questions as we're talking about. Want to help. That's what we're here for, to really help you develop, you know, what that might look like for your business. So I know sometimes it's hard to say, okay, I understand that I have to brand, but how is it conducive to, like, I know I need to have call to action. How is that conducive to my business? So the last point that we have here is branding your website for a lead, for that conversion that you want so bad. So the call to action, like I was just talking about before, is a huge deal. And me and Chris, you know, and the team, we kind of had a little bit of a debate between the call to action. But essentially, it's all about, of course, making that sale that you would want. So being very direct, like if you want a quote, email us, have that on, you know, the front page. Or even a call to action could be like contact us on Twitter, and that can be on your about page or whatever. There should be something on every single page that calls your client to make action. And then, like Chris was making his point of that contact and that relationship that you're building with your client or a potential client is all right there. You don't have to worry, because they don't have to search to try to find you and your business and try to get in contact. It is a headache, even for me. Like if I'm like on my wireless phone, I have to contact my company, and I have to say, like, hey, I have to go all the way 7 pages down. I have to say, hey, can you help me out with my phone? My phone's messed up. That is so frustrating. But just imagine if you can optimize your website to make sure there's a call to action on every single page. You're damn right. I'm going to go to your website because it's so much easier to get in contact with you, and I'm dealing with a real person, and I don't have to wait 5 days for you to answer my email, which might end up in your spam. I don't know. But if I tweet you or if I Facebook you, you'll get it quicker, and then your conversion is right there, because it's all about the experience.
Yeah.
You know.
And that, you know, that's a great point, because, you know, I personally think that a lot of companies, or not, a lot of websites out there, the only page they design to really get that conversation from the internet to their sales department or their sales team, or however they're going to turn that lead or that viewer into a customer, is the contact page. That's the only page that they use right now to get it, to capture a lead. And me personally, I think every page, as you were just saying, needs to be kind of like a contact page. Now, I don't mean that you name every page contact, but what I mean is every page should have phone button call to actions where they can directly call you from a mobile device, email us buttons, message us on Facebook buttons, subscribe to our YouTube, tweet us, follow our Twitter, like us on Twitter, all this different stuff. Talk to your audience and get them to follow you in these different avenues and these different, I guess, different social media platforms, because that's what it's about, is taking that conversation from the internet and turning it into a tangible customer. You know, we know that if you push 1 million people to a website right now, and your website's not designed to turn any of that traffic into a lead, and you get 0 customer leads from that 1 million people that just hit your website, It's not doing anything from you, or for you. Fantastic, we got 1 million people on our website, but no cash flow from it, no new customers, no new leads, no way for my sales team to reach out to that traffic, and that's a big mistake.
Yeah.
You got to take that traffic and take that conversation offline so that you can turn it into a tangible lead, because that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, and kind of jumping off of that, the most scariest, most frightening thing, especially in 2017 right now, are websites that aren't responsive. That's probably the most scariest thing that we see. There are still websites, and some clients are just totally fine with it, and they're not responsive. There's no way that in 2017 you shouldn't have a website that is conducive to this device, because this is how people are mostly getting in contact with you. And if you do not believe me, research it, because it's there. We see a lot of times clients don't have their website responsive, which will affect how your clients are getting in touch with you, or your potential clients are getting in touch with you, and how much they relate to you on the device and stuff like that. I mean, there's just a lot that goes into that, and even the user flow and the user experience. That's why we were telling you guys before about your logo design, how your logo is designed. So make sure you guys pay attention to that. I'm gonna let you guys know right now that 70% of the traffic is from Facebook.
Yeah.
Our team was showing us something, so I'm like,
no, yeah, 70% of the traffic on Facebook comes from your mobile. And that's,
okay.
That's kind of why you need to be responsive. Your website should be geared towards a mobile phone.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe if your customer base is 60, maybe it can still be geared towards a desktop, but I would still optimize it for the mobile phone, because more people are using their cell phones than even watching TV. People are spending more time on their mobile device than watching television. What that tells you, think about this. People have spent millions of dollars on Super Bowl commercials because people are watching the Super Bowl. People are on TV. But nowadays, people are on their cell phone more than they're watching television.
Right.
So I'm going to spend $1 million for a TV commercial, but yet more people are on their cell phone. Get to people where they're at on that cell phone. Market to them on that cell phone. Make sure your website is responsive, and make sure it looks good from a cell phone, because that's where people are visiting you at.
Yeah, that is so big. And that, I mean, you guys can take that. If you have any questions about it, please tweet us. Please tweet us.
Digital Mindset is the hashtag. Share this. Go subscribe to our YouTube, like us on Facebook, because we're going to be talking about stuff like this all the time. Yeah. And it's going to help you turn, again, most important thing, turning that traffic from a viewer to a potential customer to a lead. That's the bread and butter when you're talking about marketing and you're talking about increasing revenue, increasing your customers. Is first you got to get their attention using your website, using your branding, your YouTube, your Instagram, your Facebook, all of these different platforms. Grab their attention, and then we got to convert them into that lead.
And your website is going to help you do that.
Your website's going to help you do that. The way your branding looks, the way you have your call to actions, and that's why we stress it. We stress that you cannot take enough time to strategize your brand layout, your content arrangement, your who is my customer, who are we speaking to, what kind of videos are you going to have, what colors are we going to use to speak to our audience. Right. All of this stuff has to go into that branding discussion and that branding strategy, because if you don't do this before you just get everything up, you're not going to be congruent across all those different platforms. Your branding message is going to be off. Your customers aren't going to really know what you do. They're not going to connect with you. And it's going to cause you a lot of turmoil in the long run. And it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Money, yes.
That money.
That money, right. No, that's so true. And a lot of clients that we see, they are literally leaving money on the table. And it's because their website isn't responsive. They haven't considered the wireframe of their website prior to putting it online and making it live and things of that nature. And so we see this all the time. We would not be telling you any sort of story or anything like that if we didn't like truly mean it. Like, this is the stuff that we see all of the time. So really consider that. Really consider the flow of your website, making sure that it's conducive to your brand, and really reach out to your audience too. Like, if you're wondering, okay, well, I think my website is optimized for my clientele, ask them. Get in contact with them, reach out to them and say, hey, I know you've seen my website. What do you think about it? How do you feel about it? Because it is that first impression. It's that experience that a potential client has with your website. You know, it's going to determine whether or not they come back. And depending on how I feel when I use your website, if I'm on my desktop, if I'm on my phone, the colors that's on there, how visible are all the pictures, all the icons, things of that nature, it's going to determine whether or not I come back. And another point that I wanted to mention too, which Chris, hit on with the example that he had with the photos and stuff like that, really make sure that your photos represent your brand when you're putting them on your website. And I'm talking about for each and every page. Really consider how the form is being laid out, how the pictures are being laid out, how the copy is being laid out, so that you make the most out of your content. That's one of the biggest things.
And part of that branding, you have to build in before and after pictures. That should be part of your branding. Pending if you're a service business. I guess this doesn't apply for everybody, but before and after pictures, testimonials from your customers, so that people can really, because anymore, online, people will look at an online review and trust it just as they do their uncle, brother, sister, cousin. So the more testimonials you have from your customers on your website showing people that we're legit, we solve problems, we will get these pain points out of your life, that is strong, and that should be in your branding strategy. Is how are we going to show our customers to our potential customers and use that to turn them into a lead, into new revenue for the business. Mm-hmm. And if I had to put a number on how many websites are badly branded, no call to actions, I would say it's 80%.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would say 8 out of 10 websites I land on look like poop. They have bad branding, bad colors, bad design, bad copy, no call to actions. Yeah. You're from 1950 and this is our dog spot, and meet the family and look at this pumpkin I carved. Some of this stuff was on websites that I go to, and I'm just like, what is going on? I mean, you would never go to Target.com and see this stuff. You would never go to Amazon and see some of this stuff. I mean, think about this. If you're a small business, the idea is to grow. At least that's what I think it is to grow and grow and grow and get bigger, employ more people, whatever the case is. So if you eventually want to get to like an Amazon, like a Target, like some of these big companies, look at their branding and use that to your advantage.
Right, like even thinking about Amazon, like I go on Amazon all the time. They follow up with their branding really well. You can see that they have the same color schemes everywhere. There are tons of call to actions. The main thing that they want you to realize is that they're a company that they sell product, and they make that very, very aware, like from the top all the way to the bottom. They don't give a damn about all the other copy information. Oh, we started in 1928. Right. We love our clients. No, but do they even have an about page?
I don't even know.
It's at the bottom of the page because I think it is. Like, I think it's at the bottom of the page because they want you to focus on what their brand is all about, and that's selling.
How easy to make it to buy? What is that?
So easy.
What is that? One touch buying? Is that what they call it? Amazon one touch buy. Click this, boom, sent to my house. Amazon Prime. They make it so easy for you to buy that there are literally no friction points when you're ordering off Amazon. How many friction points on your website does it take to turn that customer into a lead? How many pages do they got to go through to finally get your information?
Right.
Are you thinking about this stuff? I hope so.
Right. Please get in contact with us. Please. Our handles are right there if you guys do have. Right. Yeah. That's mine. But yeah. So I think that kind of wraps it up. I think the main action points that we have definitely is that go look at the copy right now. If you do have your website up and going, really consider how you're arranging the content on your website. Do the wireframe. Google what wireframing is. Consider that. Consider the photos that you're putting up on there. And if it takes you a few more hours just to make sure that the photos fit perfectly, do that. Do that back end study, because it's going to matter to how you draw in your clientele.
Yeah. And brand all your pages like they're a contact page. Make sure you have those call to actions. I can't stress that enough. You're never going to make a sale, a new customer, unless you take that viewer from the internet and take that conversation offline. Whether that's they come into your location physically, whether that's they call your salespeople or call your office or your store or whatever it is, or whether it's they put their lead in through your website and then you follow up with them. That is the only way you are going to take these prospects and turn them into revenue. So make sure them call to actions are branded. Make sure your website, as we said, the content arrangement's right, the copy is right. We're speaking to our customers. We're using before and after pictures. We're using testimonials. We're using videos. We're using video testimonials. I mean, all of these things come into your branding, and I think that you need to make sure you're accomplishing these things so that you're speaking to your customers.
And make it as simple as possible. Do not try to overcomplicate it, which we spoke about before in the last video, and we're going to keep grilling that into people that it's not as difficult. Like, don't overthink it. Don't try to put so much wording in that I'm 4 pages in and I still don't understand what you're doing. You want to be very, very upfront. You want to be consistent about your copy. You want to be consistent in your brand and what your brand is supposed to model, so that your clients are not confused on who you are as a company and as a brand. And I mean, I related it to something a little bit personal in the last video about just, it's like when you date someone, like giving the person upfront who you are is going to be way easier than later on finding out that they like to eat peanut butter all day, every day. Like, if I'm upfront, like, what, I love to eat peanut butter all the time.
I hope you got peanut butter on deck.
That's way easier than finding out later on. You're like, man, I hate peanut. I'm actually allergic. I'm so allergic I can't even smell it, or I'll break out in hives. That's essentially what's going on when it comes to your website.
Absolutely. So, hey, if you like this video, if you like what we're talking about, or if you're a business owner that just needs to get better at this stuff, which if you're running your own digital marketing and you're a business owner, 80% of the time you do. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, share this video, share it on Facebook, on all your different platforms. I mean, we're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, you name it, you'll find us. So make sure you go to those channels, like them, follow us, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff so you can keep up to date with Digital Mindset. Again, hashtag Digital Mindset. Go ask us questions in there, because we will get back to them. We'll start answering these questions so that we can help you business owners grow in the digital age and get your branding and get your digital look right.
Yes, because majority of the time we're going to be talking about things that we see, but it would be great to hear from you guys what your questions are, what challenges you may be facing, or maybe if you want to redesign and you're wondering what we might think about it and stuff like that. That's going to really help us, and we are more than willing to tailor a lot of those comments and stuff like that to the show. So we want to make sure that we're helping you guys in these talks and things of that nature. Yeah. So this was good. Great. We're helping you guys slowly but surely. Next week we're going to come out with some great content, keep you guys informed on what's going on, and keep you up to date to this digital age. Yeah. Because that's so vital.
Again, keep coming back. We're going to be here every week. We're going to be helping you every week. Watch this video 100 times if you have to, because there's a lot of stuff that you might have to watch it 2, 3, 4, 5 times to get. But that's the point of it. Keep learning, keep growing, keep getting better. Keep coming back to Digital Mindset every week. And we'll see you guys on the next one.